organizing, strategizing, and merchandise planning is what we consider to be the front end. The other 4 that are grayed out, we're actually going to cover in the afternoon session. Those are what we consider being the back end. Yeah, I know, the ones that are on the left really should be behind the ones on the right, and it should be back in front, but I didn't name this, so we're going to move on from there. So let's talk for a moment about an organizational approach to tech. So again, our purpose here is not to teach you specifically about an individual technology. There are some wonderful vendors down on the show floor that are more than happy to take you through what they feel is the best tech and the reasons why it's the best tech. What we're going to talk about here is the approach that you need to take in order to make those decisions. So you'll see that there are lots of different people involved, right? There's an individual strategist. You have multidisciplinary because there are lots of different choices, right? Is it a front door technology? Is it inside technology? Is it roofing technology? These days we have solar, we have security. There's privacy concerns in the way that data gets collected and data gets shared. But obviously you may have multiple locations. You have to have regular meetings, formal plans and reports, and then always remember that because it's technology, there's a refresh rate that has to be established in your decision making. Unfortunately, unlike maybe roofing that hasn't changed that much in 30 years, technology changes almost daily. And so having a refresh rate or having regular meetings about the technology offerings that you're making become an important part of the front-end strategy. So, decisions are made at the divisional level. This is, I don't have to tell you this, you know this. You're all part of a builder community and you understand how it works. But the reason why we put this slide up here is to show that there are many different people in many different places making the decisions. It's not an individual decision, it's a group decision. There's a lot of input that has to come from various places, and as you'll see when we go through the presentations by the board members up here, there are lots of different places that you can gain that information, whether it's from internal or external sources, from your customers, your competition. Even the vendors and technicians that work on your homes have really great input. And part of your job is distilling all of that information down to something where you can start to make the decisions that you're actually going to be faced with. So the organizing and strategizing side of this is all about why we're offering technology. And there's a bunch of questions here that you can read and you can digest on your own. And if I didn't mention it yet, I did mention it yesterday. All of these slides will be available to you after the sessions, as well as a recording of this session. So if there's anything that you see here that you have questions about, please feel free to raise a hand and interrupt us and ask a question. As well, if there's anything here that you would like to disseminate to your teams, all of this information and these sessions will be available online after this week. And so you'll certainly have an opportunity to download them and to review them. So if you really want to hear me drone on and on for another couple of hours, it'll be available to you. So, obviously you've got a bunch of factors here in why you're offering technology, right? Things like advantage and competitive advantages and business factors, revenue splits, but there's a lot of different factors that you have to take into account when you're deciding which technology is best for you. And the question becomes then, how do you make those decisions and where do you come up with that? And so that's where we get into a very complicated slide that I'm going to take a few minutes with, because it really breaks down a bunch of different decision trees in different graphics. And so the reason why I put this up here, and I made it confusing on purpose, is because I want you to understand that although if you look at it holistically, it looks very confusing, when you drill down individually to the decisions that have to be made, you'll see that trends and from chaos comes order. So we're going to start with the top one, the tech home product taxonomy, all right? So this is sort of a breakdown of all of the various things that have to do with technology within a home, all right? You have automation and HVAC and indoor air quality, electrical and lighting, kitchen and bath, laundry, smart water, and you'll notice those are separated on purpose, and then outdoor living. So each one of those is a category unto itself, and each one of those has a group of decisions that have to be made based on the various demographics and geographics that come into your homes. And the reason why they're broken down that way is because within each one of those categories, there are important decisions to be made, but also within each one of those categories, there are factors like availability of tradespeople, availability of vendors, location of where your homes are, and they're sort of broken down also because some of the factors in technology these days have a lot to do with green. Wellness, energy efficiency, depending on where your home is, there may be rules and regulations based on how much wellness or how much green technology or how much energy efficient technology you have to include. And so that's why those are broken down like that. You can also look at this whole process from a lifestyle perspective, right? So as you get into the demographics of who's buying your homes, each of those lifestyle personae on the left apply to a specific type of person or group of people, all right? So you've got kids, you have adults, you have age in place, you have starter home, you have move-up home, you have retirement home. Each of those types of homes then fall into a category of a type of person. And as you can see, the types of people will also dictate the type of technology that you put in your home. As we talked about yesterday during work from home, there are various pieces of a home office that apply to different people for different places depending on where they are in life and their standing in their socioeconomics and demographics. The same is true of the lifestyle personae. If you're dealing with a younger group, for instance, you may be more in the studio kid, gearhead, connected type of personae. You're dealing with age in place, you're going to deal with a different group of personae. It's important that you understand how those apply to technology, and that's again why they're broken down on this slide. Moving all the way to the right, tech home room by room, this is where the technology that we discussed in the last two pieces start to get applied to individual rooms. So like we talked about yesterday, work from home means that you're looking for a home office space. But that home office space can take many different sort of shapes and sizes and factors and things like that. And so as you look room by room, you start to apply the different technologies that are across the top with the different personae that are on the left to individual rooms. And so you'll notice that each time we move down, we're sort of breaking it all down to understand how these choices get formulated based on everything that came before it. And then finally, there are some 7 central benefits, right? So the 7 central benefits are the things that are recurring themes that come up constantly when we're talking about technology, all right? Healthy, smart, safe, protective, entertaining, green, and connected. So each of those 7 can be applied, again, to an individual room, an individual personae, or up to our taxonomy. And so the reason why this slide looks complicated when you first sort of put it up there is because you don't understand the relationship. But once you understand the relationship between each one of those graphical sort of identifications, then it begins, from chaos comes some order. And it begins to make some sense about how I go through this taxonomy and how I go through each of these individual decisions, how it applies to a room, to a person, to a piece of technology, and then back to one of the 7 central benefits. I really wish that was 8. It would be much easier to say. So.